You are not behind. You are becoming. I know the weight you carry, the expectations, the pressure to be strong but gentle, ambitious but likable, confident but not too much. And somewhere between surviving and succeeding, you started wondering, who do I really need to become to win in this next season of life? Let me tell you this first. Being an alpha woman is not about dominance. It's about alignment with your purpose, with your values, with the voice inside you that refuses to stay small. So let's walk this journey together. 7 lessons, 7 shifts, 7 steps into the woman you're meant to be in 2026. Before anything changes in your life, something has to change inside you. And the first shift, the most powerful one, is this. You stop waiting for permission. There was a season in my life where I believed confidence was something you earned after someone approved of you, after a door opened, after a title was given, after the world nodded and said, yes, now you can go. But life has a way of teaching you lessons when you're quiet enough to listen. And what it taught me was simple and unsettling at the same time. No one is coming to hand you permission. Not to dream, not to lead, not to become more. Most women are not lacking talent, they're lacking authorization they think they need from outside. From parents, from partners, from bosses, from society, from fear dressed up as logic. And while they wait, life moves on. The woman who becomes truly powerful understands something early. Permission is not granted, it is assumed. She doesn't wake up one day suddenly fearless. She wakes up one day tired of betraying herself. There is a quiet cost to waiting. Every time you silence your instinct because you're afraid of being judged, a small part of you learns not to trust itself. Every time you delay a decision because you're hoping someone else will validate it, your confidence leaks out slowly. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. An alpha woman notices this pattern and interrupts it. She understands that clarity doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. That confidence is not a prerequisite, it is a byproduct. You don't become ready and then move. You move and readiness catches up. Think about the moments in your life where you grew the most. There were rarely moments where you felt completely prepared. There were moments where you showed up despite uncertainty, where you spoke even though your voice shook, where you chose yourself even though it felt uncomfortable. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. In 2026, the world will reward women who trust themselves, not loudly, not aggressively, but unapologetically. Women who don't need constant reassurance to take a step forward. Women who don't dilute their truth to keep the peace. Women who understand that being chosen starts with choosing yourself. Waiting for permission often disguises itself as being responsible or realistic. But look closely. Ask yourself honestly, is this wisdom or is this fear trying to sound intelligent? Because the truth is, most breakthroughs happen when logic can't fully explain the courage it took to begin. An alpha woman doesn't rebel against the world. She simply stops asking it who she's allowed to be. She listens to that inner voice, the one that nudges, whispers, sometimes even aches, and she honors it. Even when the path isn't clear. Especially when the path isn't clear. Faith plays a role here, a deep one. Because when you believe your life has purpose, you stop treating your instincts as accidents. You understand that vision is a responsibility. That what's placed in your heart is not random, it's entrusted. And when something is entrusted to you, you don't wait for applause to protect it. You act. This doesn't mean you won't feel doubt, you will. Courage is not the absence of fear, It's the decision that fear doesn't get the final word. Discipline helps, prayer helps, stillness helps, but action is what seals the belief. Every time you choose to move without permission, something inside you strengthens. Your posture changes. Your energy shifts. You stop shrinking in rooms you were meant to expand in. And slowly, people notice. Not because you demanded attention, but because certainty has a sound. It doesn't shout. It resonates. Here's the truth most people won't tell you. If you wait until everyone understands your vision, you've waited too long. Some people will only understand once you're already walking in it. And some never will. That's not your burden to carry. Your responsibility is to live honestly, to act bravely, to trust that the same power that placed the dream within you will give you the strength to pursue it. So stop waiting. If you feel the nudge, that's your permission. If the idea won't leave you, that's your signal. If your heart keeps returning to it, that's your calling. Move. The woman you are becoming is watching. What comes next, after you stop waiting for permission, is learning how to stay standing when motivation disappears. Because it will. That's not a flaw, that's life. And this is where most people fall back into old patterns. This is where dreams quietly expire. This is where discipline steps in, not as punishment, but as devotion. Discipline is often misunderstood. It's painted as harsh, rigid, joyless. But real discipline is none of those things. Real discipline is love in action. It's choosing what you want most over what you want now. It's honoring your future self when your present self feels tired, distracted, or unsure. There were days when I didn't feel inspired, days when confidence was low and energy was even lower. But I showed up anyway, not because I felt powerful, but because I had made a promise to myself. And keeping that promise again and again quietly changed my life. The alpha woman doesn't rely on mood, she relies on commitment. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is spiritual. Motivation comes and goes like weather. Discipline is the climate you live in. And in 2026, the women who rise will not be the ones who feel like it every day. They'll be the ones who do it anyway. Discipline looks unglamorous from the outside. It's early mornings when no one is watching. It's saying no when saying yes would be easier. It's repeating small actions long after the excitement fades. And yet, these small actions are the very things that build unshakable confidence. Because confidence is not built by big wins. It's built by self-trust. And self-trust is built when you keep your word to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and you follow through, even in the smallest way, you reinforce a powerful message inside, I can rely on me. That message becomes your foundation. And from that foundation, everything else grows. The alpha woman understands that discipline is not about control. It's about freedom. When you discipline your time, your habits, your mind, you gain freedom from chaos. When you discipline your body, you gain energy. When you discipline your thoughts, you gain peace. Without discipline, talent becomes frustrating. With discipline, even ordinary effort becomes extraordinary. There's a sacred rhythm to discipline. Wake, pray, work, rest, repeat. Not perfectly, but consistently. Discipline doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence. And faith lives here too, because discipline is saying, I believe what I'm building matters enough to show up for it. It's trusting that what you do daily is shaping something eternal, even when you can't see the results yet. Some days, discipline will feel like obedience. Obedience to your calling, to your purpose, to the version of you that refuses to settle. And that obedience will save you on days when emotions try to derail you. In 2026, distractions will be louder than ever. Shortcuts will look tempting. Comparison will steal focus if you let it. Discipline is what brings you back to center, back to your lane, back to yourself. The alpha woman doesn't do everything. She does the right things repeatedly. She knows her priorities. She protects her energy. She understands that saying no is not rejection, it's direction. And slowly, almost quietly, discipline begins to change how you walk into rooms. You're not rushed. You're not scattered. You're grounded. There's a calm authority in a woman who knows she's been faithful to her process. People may call you lucky when results finally show. They won't see the nights you chose discipline over comfort, the mornings you chose consistency over convenience, the seasons you stayed patient when quitting would have been easier. But you'll know, and that's enough, because the reward of discipline is not just success, it's self-respect, and a woman who respects herself cannot be easily shaken. So fall in love with the process. Romance the routine, honor the quiet work, because the life you're praying for is being built by the discipline you practice today. As you grow more disciplined, something subtle begins to happen. Your posture changes, your standards rise, your boundaries become clearer, and then almost without warning you realize something else. Not everyone is comfortable with this new version of you. This is where the third lesson begins. You make peace with being misunderstood. There is a quiet heartbreak in outgrowing rooms. Had once felt like home. In realizing that the people who cheered for your beginnings may not celebrate your expansion. But this is not a sign you're doing something wrong. Often, it's the clearest sign you're doing something right. The alpha woman understands this early. Growth creates distance before it creates admiration. When you start choosing yourself, people who benefited from your silence will feel unsettled. When you stop over-explaining, those who relied on your justification will feel threatened. When you raise your standards, those who were comfortable with your flexibility may call you different. They're not wrong. You are different. But here's the truth no one prepares you for. Being misunderstood is not a flaw in your journey, it's a requirement. Because becoming who you're meant to be means leaving behind who you were expected to be. Most women exhaust themselves trying to be understood by everyone, explaining their choices, softening their truth, carrying guilt for evolving. But clarity doesn't come from convincing others. It comes from being honest with yourself. The alpha woman releases the need to be liked, not because she lacks empathy, but because she has direction. She knows where she's going, and she knows that not everyone is meant to walk the full distance with her. This doesn't make her cold, it makes her grounded. There is a sacred loneliness that comes with growth, a quiet space where you learn to hear your own voice without the noise of opinions. And in that space, something powerful happens. Your intuition gets louder. Your confidence becomes internal. Your peace stops depending on applause. You begin to understand that being misunderstood is far less painful than being misaligned. Because when you live out of alignment, saying yes when your soul says no, shrinking to keep others comfortable, delaying your calling to avoid discomfort, you pay for it with your joy. Slowly, daily, silently, and the alpha woman refuses to pay that price. She doesn't argue with people who are committed to misunderstanding her. She doesn't chase validation from those who only loved her when she was smaller. She lets go with grace, with prayer, with gratitude for what was and courage for what's coming. Faith anchors her here, because faith teaches you that not every season comes with affirmation. Some seasons come with refinement, with pruning, with separation, and separation is not rejection, it's preparation. You are being prepared for rooms that require a stronger spine, for responsibilities that demand clarity, for influence that cannot be built on people-pleasing. In 2026, the world doesn't need more agreeable women. It needs aligned ones. Women who can sit with discomfort without abandoning themselves. Women who don't explain their boundaries, they honor them. Being misunderstood teaches you emotional maturity. It teaches you restraint. It teaches you when silence is more powerful than speech. And it teaches you how to walk away without burning bridges. Because you trust that what's meant for you will find you without force. There is a deep peace that comes when you stop trying to correct every narrative about you. When you realize that your life is not a courtroom, and you don't owe a defense for every decision you make. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them misunderstand. Your responsibility is not to manage their perception. It's to live in truth. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop seeking understanding from others, you finally understand yourself. Fully. Honestly. Without filters. That self-understanding becomes your compass. And with it, you move through life lighter, stronger, unshakable, because the alpha woman knows this. You don't need to be understood to be powerful. You need to be aligned. And alignment will always cost you comfort, but it will never cost you peace. Once you've accepted that not everyone will understand you, something else becomes possible. You stop performing, you stop reacting, you stop handing the steering wheel of your life to emotions that don't deserve that kind of power. And this is where true strength is formed, not in the outer world, but in the inner one. Before you can lead anything outside of you, you must learn how to lead yourself. The alpha woman understands that power without self-mastery is fragile. It breaks under pressure. It reacts instead of respond. It looks confident on the surface, but collapses when tested. So she chooses a different path. She turns inward. She studies herself with honesty and compassion. She notices her triggers, not to judge them, but to heal them. She notices the patterns that repeat in her life, the relationships, the fears, the moments where she overreacts or shuts down. And instead of blaming the world, she asks a braver question: what is this trying to teach me? This kind of self-awareness is not glamorous. It's quiet. It's uncomfortable. And it's deeply transformative. There were moments when I had to confront parts of myself I would rather have ignored. Old wounds, old beliefs, old stories about who I thought I had to be to survive. And it wasn't easy. Growth rarely is. But every time I chose awareness over avoidance, I gained something priceless. Control over my own life. Because when you don't understand your emotions, they control you. When you don't face your fears, they decide your limits. When you don't heal your past, it keeps showing up uninvited in your present. The alpha woman doesn't numb herself. She doesn't distract herself endlessly. She sits with herself. She listens. She reflects. She prays. She breathes. She gives herself the space to process instead of pretending everything is fine. Emotional intelligence becomes her superpower. She knows when to speak and when to stay silent, when to push and when to pause, when to walk away and when to stay grounded. She doesn't confuse intensity with strength. She understands that restraint is often the highest form of power. In a world that constantly tries to provoke you, online, at work, in relationships, the woman who can regulate her emotions becomes untouchable. Not cold, not distant, but centered. And centering yourself is an act of faith. Because faith teaches you to trust that not everything needs your immediate action. that some battles are not meant to be fought, that peace is not weakness, it's wisdom. The alpha woman learns to respond instead of react. She gives herself a moment before answering, a breath before deciding, a prayer before responding. And in that pause, she reclaims her authority. This inner mastery changes how she moves through the world. Criticism doesn't destroy her. Praise doesn't intoxicate her. She remains anchored, steady, clear, and clarity is magnetic. People feel safe around a woman who knows herself, who doesn't project her wounds onto others, who doesn't seek validation to feel whole, who doesn't explode or implode under stress. In 2026, emotional chaos will be normalized. Oversharing will be celebrated. Reactivity will be rewarded with attention. But the alpha woman chooses depth over drama, healing over hype, regulation over reaction. She understands that the strongest woman in the room is not the loudest one. It's the calmest one. The one who knows who she is. The one who trusts herself. The one who has done the inner work when no one was watching. Self-mastery also means self-compassion. She doesn't punish herself for mistakes. She learns from them. She forgives herself quickly. She understands that growth is not linear, and she doesn't quit on herself when she stumbles. Instead, she returns to her center. Again and again and again. This is how resilience is built, not by avoiding pain, but by meeting it with courage and awareness, not by controlling others, but by understanding yourself, not by being perfect, but by being present. And slowly, something sacred happens. The world loses its power to shake you. You stop being driven by fear. You stop being pulled in every direction. You move with intention. Because when you master your inner world, the outer world no longer intimidates you. You are no longer at war with yourself and a woe. Man who is at peace within cannot be conquered from the outside. When you begin to master your inner world, your strength softens. Not because you are weaker, but because you are wiser. And this is where the idea of power transforms completely. You realize that true strength doesn't need armor. It doesn't need sharp edges. It doesn't need to harden the heart to survive. The alpha woman learns how to be strong without becoming cold. There was a time when I thought strength meant never needing anyone, never feeling too much, never letting the world see where it could hurt you. But that version of strength was heavy, exhausting, lonely. It demanded constant defense. Real strength feels different. It breathes, it listens, it serves. The alpha woman understands that softness is not surrender, it's discernment. She chooses when to open her heart and when to protect it. She doesn't confuse kindness with weakness. She doesn't confuse compassion with compliance. She knows who she is, and because of that, she can afford to be generous. Service becomes powerful when it comes from wholeness, not sacrifice. She gives because she wants to, not because she's trying to earn love or belonging. She lifts others without lowering herself. She supports without disappearing. This kind of strength is rare, and that's why it changes rooms. In leadership, in relationships, in life, people feel it. A woman who doesn't dominate but still commands respect. A woman who listens deeply but speaks clearly. A woman who doesn't need to prove anything because her presence already does. In 2026, the world will glorify toughness, hustle, emotional detachment disguised as self-care. But the alpha woman chooses a higher intelligence. She understands that impact comes from connection, not control. Faith anchors her here, because faith teaches you that you are not here just to win. You are here to say, to leave rooms better than you found them, to use your voice, your platform, your position, not just for yourself, but for something larger. Service doesn't mean overgiving. It means intentional giving, giving from strength, giving from overflow. The alpha woman knows her limits. She rests, she recharges, she says no without guilt, because she understands that exhaustion helps no one. And from that grounded place, she gives freely, strategically, lovingly. This balance, power and softness changes how she leads. She doesn't intimidate people into obedience. She inspires them into belief. She doesn't silence others to be heard. She creates space for voices to rise. And that kind of leadership lasts. In relationships, this strength looks like emotional maturity. She doesn't play games. She doesn't weaponize silence. She communicates clearly. She loves deeply. But she also walks away when respect disappears, because she knows this truth. Love without boundaries is not love. It's self-abandonment. And she refuses to abandon herself again. There is something deeply attractive about a woman who is both gentle and grounded, who can sit in silence without discomfort, who can hold emotion without being consumed by it, who can be tender without being fragile. This is not learned overnight. It is earned through healing, through reflection, through choosing growth over bitterness. The alpha woman has been hurt, but she didn't let pain turn her cruel. She has been disappointed, but she didn't let disappointment turn her closed. She learned, she healed, she evolved. And that evolution made her powerful in the quietest way. In 2026, your softness will be questioned. Your kindness may be misunderstood. But don't let a loud world convince you that you need to be hard to survive. You need clarity. You need boundaries. You need faith. And you need the courage to remain open in a world that profits from numbness. Because when strength and softness coexist, you become unstoppable. You can build, you can lead, you can love, you can walk away, you can stay. All without losing yourself. That is alpha energy, not force, not ego, but grounded power guided by purpose. A woman like that doesn't just succeed, she changes lives. As your strength becomes grounded and your heart stays open, another responsibility emerges, one that many women avoid, but alpha women embrace with clarity and courage. You begin to take ownership of your independence, not just emotionally, not just mentally, but financially and spiritually at the same time. Because freedom without grounding becomes chaos, and faith without responsibility becomes fragile. The alpha woman understands that money is not the goal. It is a tool that gives her choices, a tool that allows her to say yes with intention and no without fear, a tool that lets her contribute, create, and serve from a place of stability. There was a time when talking about money felt uncomfortable, almost unspiritual. But I learned something essential. Avoiding money doesn't make you holy, it makes you dependent, and dependence limits your ability to move freely in the world. So the alpha woman learns. She educates herself. She understands how to earn, save, invest, and protect what she builds. Not to dominate anyone, not to compete, but to stand firmly on her own feet. She knows that independence is not rebellion, it is responsibility. In 2026, financial literacy will no longer be optional. The world is changing too fast. Opportunities will favor the prepared. And the alpha woman prepares herself quietly, consistently, without needing applause. But here's the balance. She doesn't worship money. Her faith keeps her grounded. She understands that wealth without wisdom creates emptiness, that success without gratitude becomes arrogance. So she builds with humility. She prays over her decisions. She asks for guidance. She listens before she leaps. This duality, ambition anchored in faith, is what keeps her steady. She doesn't panic during uncertainty, she plans. She doesn't fear lack. She practices stewardship. She understands that abundance flows best through hands that respect it. And respect looks like discipline. It looks like patience. It looks like generosity. The alpha woman gives back, not impulsively, not performatively, but intentionally. She supports causes that matter. She lifts women behind her. She understands that true wealth is measured by impact, not accumulation. Her spirituality is not separate from her success. It informs it. She prays before meetings. She centers herself before decisions. She trusts that timing matters as much as effort. And when setbacks come, because they always do, she doesn't collapse. She recalibrates. Faith gives her resilience. She understands that what is meant for her cannot be taken by competition, that someone else's success does not threaten her own. That comparison is a distraction from purpose. This mindset frees her. She no longer chases validation through numbers. She builds sustainably. She plays the long game. She knows that consistency compounds. In money, in faith, in life, in relationships, this independence changes the dynamic. She doesn't stay because she's afraid to leave. She doesn't settle because she fears starting over. She chooses from strength, not scarcity. And this choice is powerful because a woman who knows she can stand alone brings wholeness into partnership. Not neediness, not fear, wholeness. In 2026, the alpha woman understands that stability is attractive, peace is powerful, and self-sufficiency creates space for authentic connection. She is not waiting to be rescued. She is building her own foundation, brick by brick, with prayer in her heart and purpose in her hands. And when success arrives, she receives it with gratitude, not entitlement. She honors the journey. She remembers the nights she doubted, the mornings she prayed, the seasons she stayed faithful when results were invisible. This humility protects her, because the moment you think you are the source, you lose the source. So she stays rooted, she stays teachable, she stays grateful. And because of that, she becomes trusted. Trusted with influence, trusted with opportunity, trusted with more. That's how abundance works. When faith and independence walk together, you don't just succeed, you sustain, and a woman who can sustain her success is a woman the future belongs to. And now everything comes together here. After the courage to move without permission, after the discipline to stay consistent, after the peace of being misunderstood, after the mastery of your inner world, after learning to be strong and soft at the same time, after building independence anchored in faith, there is one final truth the alpha woman lives by. She works like everything depends on her, and trusts like everything depends on God. This is where fear loosens its grip. This is where urgency softens into trust. This is where you stop forcing life and start flowing with it. The alpha woman understands that timing is sacred, that delays are not denials, that preparation often looks like waiting, and waiting is not weakness, it is refinement. She moves boldly, but she does not rush. She dreams big, but she stays grounded. She plants seeds, even when she may not see the harvest immediately. Because faith teaches you this, what is meant for you will not miss you. In a world obsessed with speed, she chooses alignment. In a culture addicted to noise, she chooses stillness. In moments of uncertainty, she chooses trust over panic, and this trust gives her peace. She doesn't compare her timeline to anyone else's. She knows that her journey is custom-made, that every closed door redirected her, that every setback strengthened her, that every quiet season built roots deep enough to carry a future. So she shows up fully. She does the work. She keeps her heart clean. She stays grateful. And then she lets go, because surrender is not giving up. Surrender is giving it over. Giving your effort to the work. Giving your worry to God. Giving your future to faith. This is what makes her unstoppable. Not because she controls outcomes, but because she is anchored in purpose. So if you are standing at the edge of your next season, unsure, afraid, hopeful all at once, hear this: you are not late. You are being prepared. Take the step, honor the process, trust the timing. Don't just dream, wake up and live it. Don't wait to be chosen, choose yourself. Don't shrink your light, let it lead the way. The world will try to define you. Rewrite the definition yourself. And remember this always: when you walk in faith, stay disciplined in action, and lead with purpose, nothing meant for you will ever pass you by. Now go, build, serve, shine. Your time is not coming, it is here.